Yep. Oh. We're playing musical chairs up here, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here in the beautiful Jesse Ball DuPont Center. This is our new venue for our 2022 Downtown Council meeting, so welcome. I want to thank you for joining us in person, and then we also have, I think, 25 registrants on Zoom. So hello, Zoom. Thank you for being with us virtually as well. My name is Gracie Simmendinger, and I am the president of the Downtown Council. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to thank Biscotti's for the wonderful breakfast and Martin Coffee for the wonderful caffeine that each of us is partaking in this morning. I'm going to give a brief overview of Downtown Council for those of you that are new to us or haven't been to an in-person meeting in a while. We are one of 8 chamber councils, and simply put, Downtown Council cares about the future of our city. We represent Jacksonville's business community, including major corporations, growing businesses, and startups. Our goal is to connect one another so that downtown and greater Jacksonville will thrive and prosper. In a city with 7 bridges, we are the 8th bridge. Our meetings offer a brave space to discuss local topics, and we look forward to different perspectives on what makes our city great and ways to make it even better. We also pride ourselves in keeping you informed of local business and civic issues by bringing top-tier speakers to our meetings. Today is no different. We actually have 3 amazing community leaders that are with us today. So we will welcome a panel of leaders who are involved in Jax 200, which is celebrating Jacksonville's Bicentennial. This includes Alan Bliss of the Jacksonville Historical Society, Alan Verlander of Airstream Ventures, and our very own Laura Phillips Edgecombe with Build Up Downtown. I also want to mention that I'm a volunteer, and everyone on the Downtown Council board, we are all volunteers. So if you are a Downtown Council board member, will you please wave or stand and be recognized? Awesome. Thank you so much for your leadership. In addition, we have a lot of new members here today, so I'm going to recognize you. If you're a new member, would you please come up and get a small gift from the Downtown Council board? We have Laura Shippus from JEA, Heather Adams with Eye Candy Publishing, Shane Adams with Serpro of Jacksonville Northwest. I think Adam Moorhead with National Land Realty is on Zoom, so thank you for joining us. David Schaefer with Ronald McDonald House Jacksonville. Stuart Joesberger with Stumpy's Hatchet House. He's right there. And Laura Gonzalez with Franklin Street. Laura. And then Jacob Schachter with Terra Wise Homes. So welcome to Downtown Council. We are thrilled to have you. I'm also excited to share that Frank Wallmeyer of Standard Feed and Seed is our Downtown Council 2022 Small Business Leader of the Year. He's also going to introduce our spotlight speaker for today's meeting. So Frank, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Gracie. Good morning. Good morning. God. All right, come on. Good morning. Right, it's Friday. Come on. All right. So one of the advantages that I get for being Small Business Leader of the Year is to be able to get up here and introduce the other Small Business Leaders of the Year, which is the best thing. But the second best thing is I also get time for shameless plugs. So tomorrow, Standard Feed and Seed from 1 to 4 at 1236 Kings Road, we will be doing our spring fling. We're going to be benefiting White Harvest Farms. If anybody knows about White Harvest Farms, it's part of Claire White Mission. They have a 20-acre farm on Moncrief. It's really cool. They're going to be there selling fresh organic vegetables, and we're going to have some free Azer sausage, some free craft beer, and we will be doing chicken poop bingo at 2 and at 3. Bring cash, cash only. Chicken poop bingo. Winner gets $160. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. All right, so for the best part of being the Small Business Leader of the Year, I get to introduce the other Small Business Leaders of the Year. So representing the Beaches Council, Terri Davlantes is owner of Jack's Cooking Studio, a modern, spacious kitchen that provides fun, hands-on cooking experience for adults, children, families, school children, corporate teams. Their mission is to provide a chance to escape from the stress and enjoy a few moments of culinary pleasure and a glass of wine or two. Terri began Jack's Cooking Studio after a career in higher education at Florida Coastal School of Law and Jacksonville University. Terri is a double Gator. Go Gators. Any Gators in here? She has a degree in nursing and a JD from the University of Florida. She is probably the most interesting thing about Terri is one of 9 children. If you'll notice, Terri is female. The other 8 are boys. And they were all older than she. Wow. So how you survive that is, so she and her husband, she's been married for 30 plus years, I'm assuming. They have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. So, because I've known you for probably at least 25 years. How long have you been married? Do you care? Yeah, okay. All right, 38 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Terri Davlantes.
Hey, thanks so much for having me here. I was thrilled to become the Beaches Division of Small Business Leader of the Year. And you guys are really serious about the bridge to everybody else. We're just in to have a good time at the Beaches Division. Not true. We do a lot of good work, but anyway, I'm Terri Davlantes, the owner of Jack's Cooking Studio. About 5 years ago, decided to leave higher education, where I spent the last 15 or so years, and do something a little bit fun to end my career. Since I have been married 38 years, it's about time to do something a little bit of fun. And so decided to do something that I really like to do, which is cooking. And I'm not a chef, but I do come from a big family. And so because I'm the only female in a group of 8 boys who kind of fell into the stereotype of not cooking, I was always holding the family dinners. And so I'd spread food around my house so people wouldn't end up in my kitchen, and people always ended up in my kitchen. So I thought, well, there's probably a business plan here, and started thinking about maybe starting a cooking studio where people can come together and cook, because people always ended up in my kitchen. So I gave them work to do. You were in charge of the pasta salad, you were in charge of getting the pizzas out of the oven, and just kept them busy. And it's fun when you get together and you're cooking something. So in our cooking classes, we teach adults, kids, and corporate teams. So we do a lot of team building events, how to cook. Usually you're coming and you're making about 5 different menu items. We're really into hands-on cooking, because I think that's coming from an education background. At least me, that's how I cement something in my mind, is actually by doing it. They say the statistics are that people are spending more and more time watching these cooking shows on TV and less time in their kitchen, or the primary primary appliance that people use in the kitchen is the microwave. So we have one microwave that's kind of hidden underneath in the chef's kitchen, but our business is focused around having you learn to cook hands-on using primarily chef's knives. We'll teach you how to hold a knife, how to do various cuts, but we'll also teach you how to use that cooktop and the oven. So the chef demonstrates one thing, and then you go back out with the person you registered for, and we prepared ingredient trays for you, and you make the item the chef prepared. Then the chef will bring you back up, and you learn the next thing, and you keep cycling that until you've made a whole meal. During the entire experience, you get to enjoy complimentary wine from us, and there's no tax involved in cooking events in the state of Florida. So it's you pay the price, and then you come and you enjoy it, and that's it. We give you an apron to use, all the ingredients, and wine. So what more could be asked for, right? And we are the answer to date night. So it's a fun experience. We think we're the answer to first date nights too, but it's a funny story. I did get I did put up one where we had some like speed dating where we were going to connect singles, and I got so many different comments from different mismatched age people that the 6-year-olds wanted it, because I broke them into like, here's for 20s and 30s, here's for 30s and 40s, here's for 50s and 60s, or 40 to 50. And so I didn't want a lot of older people coming to the one for the 20-year-olds, but that was not what some people wanted. So we so we took those down, but it's still a fun date night experience. All right, anyway, if you ever need a corporate team building event, we'd love to talk with you. We do them Monday through Friday daytime or in the evenings, and please check out our website, jackscookingstudio.com. We've got classes posted up there through September. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. My name is Laura Phillips Edgecombe. I am the Director of Development for Build Up Downtown, which you're going to hear a little bit about here in a minute, but I'm also the Programs Director for the Downtown Council, and I want to welcome everyone for being here today. For those of you in Zoom land, let me remind you, we are recording, and for everyone else in this room, including my two wonderful co-speakers, they're recording. We're recording. With that, the way that it works when we get to Q&A. So this is a little bit different. A lot of times we have like someone up here, they give a PowerPoint presentation, or they just kind of sit and talk, or they stand and talk. It's gonna be a little bit different. We're trying to try out some new things here at Downtown Council, make it more of a conversation, make it more of an interactive feel, like we're sitting around the fire and those fireside chats and that fun buzzword. So what we're gonna do this morning, Alan Bliss, Alan Verlander, myself, and our lovely Melinda Powers, who is part of the Downtown Council board as well. We're going to sit up here. We're going to have a conversation about the Bicentennial. Alan Bliss is going to give some information on our history, 200 years of history. Talk a little bit about the event as far as like the date, the times, our sponsors, those sorts of things. Alan Verlander is going to speak to the actual day of events and all the fun stuff that's happening in regards to the Bicentennial Jacks 200. And then I'm going to talk about all the other things, because there's a million other things going on around the Bicentennial as well, as we try to make this an all city event and not just a one-day amazing fireworks show with a great concert and good beer. So with that, I'm going to ask Melinda to come up. I'm going to ask my two co-speakers to come up. We're going to sit down and we're going to start talking about the Bicentennial. No.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melinda B. Powers, and I'm going to be the moderator. So let's get started. Alan, so it's two of you. This is going to be confusing. Mr. Bliss, can you give us a little background just about the history, the bicentennial history of Jacksonville?
Sure. So we measured Jacksonville's foundational date from June 15th, 1822. That was the date on which a group of citizens, 61 from the lower St. Johns River Valley, this area around what was at that point known as Calford, signed a petition, and we have a copy of the original petition signed by the Calford 61, as I call them, and they sent a petition to the then Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, asking him to designate the place that they called, for the first time that we can find any record of, that they called Jacksonville in the Florida Territory. And it's helpful to remember that until like 10 months before that, Florida had not been part of the United States. It had been part of Spain. Before that, it went through a period of British colonial regime. And before that, for several hundred years, it had been part of Spain. And of course, before that, it was the territory of the indigenous peoples. It was part of the United States for the first time in 1821. Within several months, early in 1822, the people of this area wanted to establish themselves and establish a center of commerce and trade. And that's how most cities get started. The petition didn't get any favorable response from Secretary of State Adams. We have no record of him denying it or responding. We can only speculate about his reaction. My favorite speculation is that he read the petition, called out for somebody to bring in a map of the new East Florida territory and looked at it probably under a magnifying glass, couldn't find any place called Jacksonville, and decided they're not ready for a customs port of entry at this place. Let's give them 100 years or so and see what happens. But the name stuck from that point forward. 2 years later, the then governor of the Florida Territory, William Duval, a name that may be familiar to some in this room, granted a cross river ferry license at the place here, and he referred to it in that charter as Jacksonville. And the name has continued to gain traction since then. Why did they choose the name Jacksonville? That's a question that we've conjured with a little bit. There's no explicit explanation, but it makes sense when you consider that the people who established this and applied for that petition, they had been Spanish citizens, as I said, until the year before. And in recognizing that they were now part of the United States, not a state yet, that wouldn't come until 1845, but they were a territory. They were asking a federal official for a favor, for some dispensation that he could or could not grant. And they probably wanted to associate themselves with the patriotic impulse of the United States. And the closest thing that we had to a national patriotic military hero at the time was an Army general named Andrew Jackson. He had yet to become president of the United States, but he was the hero of the Battle of New Orleans, in which forces that he led had defeated the British in New Orleans, and he had acquitted himself in a way that brought a lot of glory to him and his troops, and really sort of made the United States bones against its former colonial, its former imperial regime, Great Britain. So he was a hero. He had also won favor, frankly, by invading Spanish Florida in pursuit of escaped slaves who had fled Georgia and the other areas of the slaveholding states of the American South. That had brought him prestige. So by associating themselves with the name Andrew Jackson, the people of the territory known as Calford thought they were establishing their patriotic credentials. Apparently it didn't move the heart or spirit of Secretary of State Adams, but that's pretty much how we got the name Jacksonville. 200 years later, almost 200 years, we are now, 199 years and 11 months and a few days away. This moment has been coming for a long time. And Jacksonville is a place with a complicated history. Excuse me, it is a city of many stories. That's part of our tagline at the Jacksonville Historical Society. Some of them are inspiring, some of them are heartbreaking, some of them are dark and toxic, and some of them are stories that really resonate with every aspect of the American dream. In other words, Jacksonville is a place like almost every other in the United States. Its people have carved out their careers, their lives, their families, and it doesn't matter whether you are a descendant of the original Calford 61 and have been here for generations, or whether you just unpacked a U-Haul last weekend. This is your city now. You are a part of it. It's a part of you. And the bicentennial moment is a time for not just looking back at 200 years of Jacksonville's history, but it's a moment to start thinking about the 200 years ahead. It's a moment to think about the fact that we are the legatees, we're the inheritors of all the generations that have come before us here. We occupy the space that they built and designed, not us. It reminds us that we are stewards of a particular moment in the big arc of this city's existence, this place. And the people who come after us will inherit what we do. They will inherit the consequences of our lives and the events that occur in our moment. They will inherit the spaces that we're having an opportunity to shape and design now, right? It reminds us of our citizenship. And that's the value of history, of knowing about history. And history, by the way, isn't exactly what happened in the past. History is how we understand and explain the events of the past. When you're doing it right, you do it in a fact-based way. So we are always unpacking and understanding the facts of the past putting them in the context of their consequences in the present moment. And the more you immerse yourself in that and reflect on it, we think the more that strengthens citizenship. So that's how we have come to believe that this bicentennial is a moment worth at least observing, commemorating, in some ways celebrating, and a chance to look back and look ahead. Helpful?
Yes, thank you. That was very informative and inspiring. For those of us that aren't aware of all the details for the event, can you give us a little more information about that and what's going to be happening next month?
So the events of June 11th, I'm going to share the mic with my colleague, the other Alan up here. You wouldn't believe how many times we have had to clarify which Alan it is that's on a text, voicemail, or email string over the past several weeks. And then we've got a couple of Daves on the task force as well. So that's been amusing. The events of June 11th will kick off at James Weldon Johnson Park at noon on Saturday, June 11th. That's the closest Saturday that we could find closest to the actual bicentennial anniversary date of June 15th. We opted not to do it on the weekend following, that being the observation of Juneteenth. So on June 11th, the events begin with festivities in James Weldon Johnson Park, but with the help of the city, the area, the corridor of Laura Street, roughly from James Weldon Johnson Park down to Riverfront Plaza, formerly the site of the Jacksonville Landing, will be closed off, and there will be a proclamation and other activities in James Weldon Johnson Park, historical booths and interpretive sites. We will have 9 interpretive displays with big screens scrolling throughout the day. Photos from the Historical Society's archive collection, which consists of over 100,000 historic photos of Jacksonville, along with photos from other organizations helping tell their stories. And this is a good point for me to share that this is not just the Jacksonville Historical Society telling Jacksonville's story. We are creating spaces, and we are now upwards of over 40 booths for businesses, churches, neighborhood organizations, and other groups to occupy a space along that corridor and tell their Jacksonville story. As I said, everybody has a Jacksonville story. This is a space for people to share that, and we hope share it widely with the people who appear. There will be a performance, musical performance in James Weldon Johnson Park, a mayoral proclamation, a reading of the charter and the original petition at 3 o'clock. The Jacksonville Children's Chorus will perform Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem authored by Jacksonville's own native sons, James Weldon Johnson and Rosamond Johnson. The music continues at 5, beginning at 5, on a main stage in Riverfront Plaza with performances that I think my colleague here can name, I hope, maybe by memory, but if he's got a piece of paper in his pocket, we'll know he's working from notes. The day's activities continue throughout the afternoon into the evening with food trucks and beverages along the corridor. And the events of Saturday the 11th conclude with a fireworks show in the river, as only Jacksonville can do it.
Thank you,
And if I may just add, the bicentennial year is about more than just the events of that day. That's as close, as I said, as we can get to the foundational anniversary. But plenty of organizations are programming activities that relate to their story and their mission that will be happening throughout the year. The Florida Yacht Club, for example, is holding what they will bill as a bicentennial regatta this summer. The organization headquartered here, 90 Forward, headed by Dr. Kimberly Allen, has organized a bicentennial series of conversations that they represent as race card conversations. That's a particular program activity of theirs, and they're hoping to hold 200 of those to commemorate the 200th anniversary of this city. We ask everybody who is engaged with Jacksonville citizenship, what are you or your group doing to help commemorate and observe the bicentennial? We have fabulously old organizations that are participating in this, and there are more recent ones as well. we're hoping that the new Museum Warship, the USS Orleck, will be open on June 11th for visitation. I know that the people part of that are scrambling to get that in play. The ship just arrived, but that would be a great way to help interpret Jacksonville's history, would it not? You can't tell Jacksonville's history, certainly not in the 20th and 21st centuries, without talking about the U.S. Navy. 1/3 of the city's political economy stands on the economy that's derived from the U.S. military, and that's principally the Navy here. All due respect to the Army, Air Force, and Marines and Coast Guard.
Thank you. Mr. Verlander, can you expound on your part of this celebration?
Yeah, so I'll be the donut hole. He kind of covered everything, and I'll be the one that kind of fills in the gaps. So as Dr. Bliss said, the idea is to really of the event to look back and celebrate, but also commemorate where we've been, to kind of look at where we currently are as a city. And then I think at the end of the day is really to figure out where we're going as a city. And so that was kind of the strategic plan that was put in place when we were brought on about 5 months ago to say, hey, we got to pull this together and do this. So we're going to start today. If you have a picture of Laura Street to James Weldon Johnson Park, everything will be programmed in there. And as Dr. Bliss said, I think we're actually close up to 50 organizations that will be displaying everything that they're doing around the city. So it's all inclusive. Is if you have a company or you have a not-for-profit that is a part of the fabric of this community, you want to be out there celebrating and promoting your product. It's like a street party. I mean, it's the best way to put it. At James Weldon Johnson Park, we basically went to Liz and said, will you take this over and just program it and make it all inclusive and make it a part of what we're trying to do? And Liz and her team have done a fabulous job in that. The park will be programmed with music and entertainment from noon to 3 o'clock. And then the celebration and the historical part of the celebration will be occurring at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, as Dr. Bliss said. And then the idea is we will have the Navy Southeast Band come at 4 o'clock and lead everybody that is around James Weldon Johnson Park down Laura Street to Riverfront Plaza to begin the celebration for the rest of the night. So you can envision that in your mind of kind of one city as we are going, all different looks, all different feels, all different sizes, whatever, all walking down to Riverfront Plaza to kind of leave behind understanding where our city has been, but pressing forward to where we're going. And so that's kind of the vision and strategy of this. I will say up and down Laura Street, there will be plenty of food trucks. There will be plenty, June 11th, it gets pretty hot around here. So there'll be plenty of adult beverages or waters or coffee if you really want coffee, maybe iced coffee. And there'll be just a whole celebration of that. We will have horse and carriages riding up and down Laura Street. We will have reenactors from the 1800s, God bless them, wearing the outfits that they'll be wearing on June 11th. But we'll have all different embodiments of what it looked like in 1822, what it looked like in 1901. We had a small little fire that changed our city forever. And all of those different things embodied in the look and feel of Laura Street. In addition to the historical displays, there'll be a lot of stories that are telling. I think that's the important piece of this event is storytelling, telling the story of our city. And then it will funnel down to Riverfront Plaza. And if y'all, anybody went to River Jams, in the month of April, that DVI and Build Up Jacks and Chamber, everybody that was involved with that did an amazing job with that. It will be a very similar look and feel. That's the best way I can describe it. And so we will have 4 bands that are playing. A lot of people have asked, well, did you try to go get headliner bands and all this kind of, bands that everybody in the country has heard of? We looked at that, but bands like that now are $100,000 a piece, and we felt like the better use of the money that was coming in for this event was going to go to celebrating the people of Jacksonville, not giving it to bands that were just coming, playing for an hour and leaving. You could care less about this city. And so that was our strategy on that. So we hired 4 bands. We'll start out with a jazz band that is amazing. A lot of students from UNF that is just doing great stuff. Then in between that, we will also be telling historical moments when the bands are switching on and out their backline equipment or their sound equipment or all those kinds of things. It's not just going to be a stale stage. We will be telling more historical things and having people come up and celebrating and honoring people all throughout that. Then we go to a band called Honey Hounds, if you've heard of Honey Hounds. And then we will go to a band called Love and Theft, who is out of Nashville, but does have some roots here in Jacksonville. And then ending the night, the headline band goes on at 9:04. If we can figure that one out. They'll start at 9:04 and play till about 10:10. That is a band called Flip Turn that is based here in our community. And then we will end the night with fireworks. And so all around Riverfront Plaza will be food trucks, will be vendors celebrating Jacksonville, and it'll be a great time. We also, adjacent to the stage, the last thing I'll say is we wanted to bring in a VIP option. We all in Jacksonville love our VIP options, right? And so we wanted to do a VIP option. So we're calling it the 1822. Do want to thank ViStar and Northern Trust for putting that on. But it is, you can go on the website and buy a VIP ticket. It's $200. We're only selling 200. And if you can find a theme in that, you're smarter than I. But 200 people at $200. We are going to recreate an old-timey saloon. And so it's going to be like you stepped into the 1850s of a saloon. And we're going to have everything once you walk into that is free. You've obviously paid for it up front. But there's no, you get 2 drink tickets and everything's paid. Everything from the moment you walk in there is free. And so we'll have people walking around feeling like you're in an old saloon. And so from the servers to people helping us put it on, we'll have 6 restaurants that are all Jacksonville restaurants that'll be serving food of different nationalities of food, different types of food. And so want to thank those restaurants as well. So if you have an interest in being in that area, make sure you go to jax200.org and you can sign up and buy tickets on there as well. But they're for the first 200 people. We've already sold a lot of tickets. So if you do want to do that, there's 2 ways to do it. Either have your company become a sponsor of the event or just buy tickets directly, and it'll be a good time. So that's kind of an embodiment of the day. A lot of people have worked very hard on this event from all different sectors and parts of this community. And so I think it's going to be a celebration, as I said, of understanding where we've been, but more importantly, taking where we've been and where the heck are we going?
Thank you. And last but not least, Laura. After the Laura Street celebration, what's going to be happening around the Bicentennial?
No, I'm just kidding. Well, after my party, no, I'm just kidding. So anytime I speak, and y'all have watched me speak outside of downtown council, I usually have my iPad with me, and it's because so many things change on a regular basis when we talk about statistics and things from downtown. The reason I have my iPad today is because there's a lot of other things going on that are either complementary to the actual June 11th celebration or even past that as we celebrate our bicentennial year. My lovely part of this task force has been basically going out and talking to all the million contacts that I have saying, hey, you usually do XYZ. Can you also throw a birthday cake in there, light some candles, and throw the bicentennial logo on your event? And then it's amazing, absolutely amazing, the response, the idea that as a city as a whole, we really want to make sure that bicentennial is celebrated everywhere. I'm going to run through a couple of things because it's fun and exciting, but also know that there's a ton of other things going on. So in Zoom land here in the room, if you know of something else going on, the Jax 200 website actually lists and is starting to list even more now of these bicentennial events. And I just kind of want to go through them so we can kind of get an idea of what we're really looking at. Dr. Bliss spoke to the 904 Forward. They are doing 200 race card conversations in honor of 200 years. And, if for those of you that have never had a race card conversation, I beg you, genuinely beg you to go and see what that looks like, to experience it. It's amazing for those who feel like they're inclusive and diverse. You have these race car conversations and you realize that you haven't even, scraped the surface. They are very thought-provoking. They are very reflective, both internally and externally with your peers. And anyone in this room who would like to be contacted, I'm happy to put you in contact with another Dr. Allen, actually Dr. Kimberly Allen, who she is a champion for change in this city. And as Dr. Bliss spoke to, there's some uglies in our city, but as long as we are open to them and embrace them, that's where the change comes. So 9:00 forward, on the actual weekend, there is a pub walk tour that is it's a lot of fun actually, and I'm gonna have to pull up the information because I don't want to mess it up. But it is put on by Ad Lib. If y'all don't know Gary Sass, you know Gary Sass. He's the gentleman who walks around in costume downtown and gives downtown tours. He does the vault tours and he does all these other really fun and exciting historical tours for Jacksonville. But they're doing a bicentennial. Usually it's like one line. So they're going to do 2 pubs, 13 stories, and 1 lie, and it's going to be all about the bison, like about our 200 years of history. And then they're going to end that one at Ruby Beach. And then Shelton Hall is going to put on Jack's history trivia. And he has been spending a lot of time trying to come up with trivia questions that will even stump Dr. Bliss, because Dr. Bliss is a plethora of knowledge of Jacksonville.
That won't take long.
So yeah. And so that one's going to be a lot of fun. That's actually going to be occurring the Friday night before the actual event. So if you're interested in that, there's tickets on Eventbrite. Some of the other really wonderful organizations, Northside Coalition's doing some things, as Dr. Bliss mentioned. The Orlick is trying to be open by then, but definitely open further in the year, having the Bicentennial be a large part. They'll throw a birthday party later on once they're open to the general public. If you haven't been out to the Jacksonville International Airport, it's called the Soul of Jacksonville. So for those of you that don't know, our airport has an amazing art gallery. You don't have to go past security to get there. You literally just walk in, you go through that main ticket area, and it's right there on your left-hand side. It's gorgeous. And so they've got the Soul of Jacksonville. It's been up. It'll be up for the remainder of the year. If you're at a meeting on the north side, or you're going to River City, to go shopping, or you live over there, even if you don't, you guys, it's literally like 7 minutes from here. So please just get in your car, go to the airport, go check that out. Mosh just held their gala. They called it in honor of the Bicentennial, but there's also an exhibit at Mosh right now that shows Jacksonville history. The Ritz Theater they're going to have a concert. I don't want to mess these up. I'm sorry to continue to go back to my iPad. I just don't want to mess it up. They are having, well, I lost it now, but that is what that is. I just wanted to give you the date. Anyway, the Ritz Theater, there we go. The best of R&B bands. So the Ritz Theater's Heritage Concert Series, which celebrates Black music, is that night there's a concert at 8 o'clock on June 11th. That will be a lot of fun. If you're a little too hot and you would prefer to go listen to R&B, that's the great part about this. There's something else going on in the city, just right up the road. Some other things are actually happening that same night. The Symphony has their final concert, and it's Ode to Joy on June 11th. So that's really exciting. If you make it over to Ode to Joy, then you can come hang out with us in Riverfront Plaza. The Jumbo Shrimp have a shrimp game that night against the Gwinnett Stripers. Yep, make sure I read that correctly. Frank, I knew you'd think that was fun. So there's going to be activity at the Shrimps game. Florida Theater's got a concert that night as well. It's going to feel so packed downtown, right? And when we talk about why that's important, that's basically why I'm talking. When we talk about build up downtown and we talk about the density and what's necessary downtown to show. When we ask people to live and work downtown, we need to highlight our greatest assets, and what downtown has that no one else has in the rest of the city is our river, is our wonderful river. And so, utilizing Riverfront Plaza, showing the activation, the symphonies on the river, all sorts of other really great things. We're going to get into a question here in just a little bit, but we'll talk about that then. 2, 3, 4 other big people that people will get excited about that I'd like to mention. So MoCA is doing, Wayne Wood is going to be hosting a panel discussion to explain where the history of the Emerald Trail actually came from. For those of you that know anything or don't know anything about the Emerald Trail, I also beg you to go find out about that. Groundwork Jacks is putting together, it's an idea that was conceptualized far before our time for the Emerald Necklace, which is now the Emerald Trail, and it's 30 miles of trails that connect 14 neighborhoods in Jacksonville, part of it which will run through downtown. In addition to that, the Jesse are planning events August 9th through the 13th. They are actually finalizing those. I can't disclose what it is, but it's a really amazing program. They'll know next week, and then they're going to start pushing and promoting it. So you can follow their social channels. I talked about the race cards. Oh, and then other organizations that have come on board. The Jaguars are going to have a birthday party at one of the games, which is really great and exciting. They're working now, and we'll know by June 6th what date they're going to do that. I spoke with Gator Bowl yesterday. Also, they're going to use the Bicentennial coin as the coin flip for that game, as well as do some other things along the way. At the baseball game, they're going to do some Bicentennial things as well. And then Downtown Council is going to be involved in the Bicentennial. As most of you know, we paint the paw prints downtown. If you don't know now, you know Downtown Council is the one who paints those gorgeous paw prints downtown. And the Jaguars are actually going to partner with us this year for the first time, full partnership in that. And we're going to make it a Bicentennial celebration, have a birthday party afterwards with the city, and kind of roll from there. That's not all there is, but that's all I'm going to talk about as we look at time and try to be mindful of time. I'm going to hand it back to Melinda to ask some follow-up questions.
Thank you, Laura. So just one follow-up question each. We just have a few minutes left. So Dr. Bliss, I'm sorry I didn't address you correctly before. What is one piece of Jacksonville history that you don't want to see repeated? What is one piece of Jacksonville history that you would not like to see repeated?
Golly, that's a good one. I suppose probably, the easiest and most glib answer is Jacksonville's Great Fire. How much did you have bet on this? Yeah, very, very sorry. Yeah, although as is often the case with things that seem to be superficial tragedies on the face of it, the Great Fire was pretty complicated in its historic reach. Yes, it was a tragedy, but it really accounted for one of the most concentrated sort of changes, metamorphoses, I guess, in the existence of any city. It's like Chicago. It led to this surge of really pioneering, innovative, smart, relatively young architects, contractors, investors, engineers who came to Jacksonville in the years just after the Great Fire, sometimes within days or weeks, and reinvented this city. And the downtown area, that is the particular focus of the Chamber's Downtown Council, is the legacy of those people, those pioneering architects, people like Henry Clutho and others who arrived here and had lots of great ideas and had a blank slate to apply them to. And the town that we occupy now really sort of grew up in just roughly the decade and a half after the Great Fire. It is a way to tell a lot of stories about this city and apply them to other cities. And so it's an ill wind that blows no good at all in history, I guess. But we probably should not repeat the Great Fire if we can avoid it in this town.
Thank you so much. So Alan Verlander, if you could please tell us, what is your vision of the future of Jacksonville for your children or just all of the children of Jacksonville?
Can I give a shameless plug real quick before I answer that?
Sure.
So if you want to get involved and be a volunteer for the event, I meant to point that out. So we do need a lot of different volunteers all throughout that day. It's obviously a major undertaking. So feel free to email me. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Alan, ALAN, at airstreamventures.com. It's not very complicated. So if you or people in your company or friends or whatever, we've got a lot of fun volunteering opportunities. So Alan at airstreamventures.com. Okay. So I think for me, I've got 4 daughters, 2 weddings 6 weeks apart at the end of December and February. So I'm just hoping to survive. I hope I'm around for the future, financially at least. So, but I think for my kids and grandkids, I think it's a city that embodies kind of different voices into one being that is accepting. That is, we may think differently, but it doesn't mean you're right or I'm right. We're all trying to come to a common goal, and I think that's it's taking these things that people say because it's the right thing and turning them into the right thing to do. And so I think that for me, as any organization that we work in or any city that we thrive to be, it's including everybody, but meaning what you're really saying and not doing it because it's a good soundbite.
Thank you. And if I could just add a little tidbit, I noticed in the conversation that there was a lot of mention of not imposing on other events and including. So I think you guys are walking the walk and talking the talk. So thank you for that. And Laura, last but not least, again, you just wrap it up for us. What does a thriving Jacksonville look like as we move into the future?
Well, I would say that probably looks different to different people, but overall, as a city, when we talk about, I mean, and it's one of the reasons that I'm in the position that I'm in now, and so this isn't just me talking about, building up the downtown because that's my job. I took this position. It was actually a position that I was instrumental in helping create because I genuinely believe in what I'm going to say. And that is, for a city to thrive and for we talk about, people ask me all the time, like, what's my legacy? And my legacy is my son, right? My legacy is him wanting to go away to school. Please go far, far, far away, go to school, go have fun, go do your thing, but then come back. So a thriving Jacksonville, a thriving Northeast Florida really looks like a well-populated, diverse, inclusive city. Yes, we are a very, very large city. We're a consolidated city. We have a ton of suburbs. We have a ton of neighborhoods. Even in our downtown area, there's 8 neighborhoods within our downtown because our downtown is so large. But that being one of forward thinking, mindful thinking, not being afraid to take chances, like building architectural buildings that look like maybe they belong in Miami, but that at some point actually do belong here because they're resilient and they are good for the economy and they're good for economic development and they're good amenities and they're good partners. Making sure that when we're planning our future and especially in our downtown, that we are mindful of what that looks like as far as the amount of residential we have, the fact that we need to have workforce and affordable housing mixed in with market rate, the fact that we need to have amenities, park space, whether that's green parks or concrete can also be a park, or a placemaking like James Weldon Johnson Park. We really have to be mindful and forward thinking. We just was very fortunate, went on the destination downtown trip with Charleston. And, everyone talks about how we're similar and how we're different. And there were 2 things that really stood out. I mean, one of the reasons that they are the way they are is because of some of the ways that they go about architectural design and those sorts of things. Not that we're there yet, but I see it coming. But they also had a mayor that was in the office for 40 years straight who had a vision. He had a vision and everyone was along for the ride. I'm not saying we need to have a mayor for 40 years, but knowing that we are able, regardless, I mean, we're coming up on an administration change, knowing that those that we're putting into office are forward thinking, going to work together, going to be bipartisan no matter what, because we're a city, right? That's what's important. And our suburbs and our out neighborhoods will only benefit. So a thriving Jacksonville looks inclusive, it looks dense, it looks forward thinking, it looks fun, it looks not afraid to rebuild, it looks proud of who we are. And at some point, everyone talks about this, it's hard, like Jacksonville doesn't have an identity. Well, it's because there's so many of us. Sometimes it's hard, but I think that events like this where we're honestly doing our damnedest to try to bring as many people together and to get the word out and to, not be afraid to hear if we are doing something wrong, or need to change something. That's the future. A thriving Jacksonville is one that talks to each other. It's one that works together. It's one that doesn't hang out in silos. It's one that plays well in the sandbox.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you coming to share all of this great information with us and inspiring us and educating us. So everyone, please give our panel a round of applause.
Awesome. Switching back to me. Just kidding. So to that, we are going to have Meg Hines come up, talk about chamber. Or actually, does anyone have any questions? Did we answer? I was going to say yes. I'm so sorry. Bruce, what's up?
Taking from the tragedy to something good.
So the question real quickly for those on Zoom, if we hadn't had the Great Fire, would we have had our amazing architect, Henry Clutho?
I think we would have had some variation on him because Clutho arrived here, as I said, at the moment of a blank slate, but he also arrived at a moment when cities, downtowns, even ones that had not been burned over, were experiencing the impact of emerging new technologies, emerging new techniques of building design and construction, the increasing deployment of vertical transit systems, elevators, as we call them now, steel reinforced construction, increasing heights, increasing concentration. One of the weird things about that moment after the Great Fire and Clutho's work here in Jacksonville is that people like him and the other developers of downtowns were shaping downtown blocks and streets and systems at a moment before they had really awakened to the impact of the automobile, right? So, Great Fire, 1901. By 1920, less than 2 decades later, city planners, builders, architects, designers, property owners, all of a sudden scratching their heads and thinking, wait a minute, what are we going to do with all the cars that are flooding into downtown? And we experienced the consequences of that right down to the present day. So Henry Clutho, maybe him, maybe not, but we certainly would have gone through a big metamorphosis in the shape of downtown. One of the reasons Jacksonville burned so happily in May of 1901 was because it was a place that was built mostly of wood. And that makes sense. How come? Because we occupy a city that's in the middle of a lot of pine flatwoods all over Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. That was the building material that was easy enough to build a city cheaply and quickly in the late 19th century. That's what made Chicago such a right place for its Great Fire. So, helpful?
Sounds like everything's centered around the downtown, which is understandable. But it would be cool to get a,
So I will tell you, actually, one of the things that we are in the middle of doing right now is putting, I wish I had a picture of it, banners. So like not like vinyl banners, but a cloth banner with a screen print that basically has that logo, and we're going to take them all over flags. Great, there we go, there we go. That's the material. I'm like, not vinyl, sounds like, yep, flags. So, and we are, because to your point, I mean, we want to celebrate all over. The other thing, I'm talking with Visit Jacksonville. We're going to do like 200 historic spots around the city. In addition to that, hopefully, fingers crossed, Jim Overton might kick my butt right now, but I think we're going to be putting in also like in your tag renewals, a bicentennial flyer that just basically talks about it, says if you want to get interested for more information, those sorts of things. I'm just looking for a printing sponsor because that's going to be a little bit expensive, but the tax collector's office said they'll absolutely stick it in with every mailing that goes out. So we can reach people who don't necessarily have social media or aren't up at 7:30 on a Friday, or, you know, going to a Jags game or going to a shrimp game or something like that. So we are trying to be a little bit more out of the box. Obviously it's very easy to, downtown is downtown. So the reason it's not focused on downtown just because, oh, it's downtown. It's because we're all trying to do something greater in downtown. It's really because it should be the heart of our city, right? And so we're trying to bring everyone together to one space where would that space be. But we are, I promise we're gonna have some flags flying for a year. Soon enough. Any other questions? Gracie, are there any online? Nope. Okay. All right, guys. Jax200.org has information for sponsorship. If you want to be a vendor, you can sign up there. If you have stories you want to tell, there's a thing called Bicentennial Bites, which is basically like your story. You can submit your story and then there'll be a narrative written up and put up on the website. Gator Bowl is about to send you a brain dump of Florida, Georgia, and Gator Bowl stuff, by the way. I talked to them yesterday. And then I don't know where Meg tells them, Meg, you have chamber stuff to talk about? Just do.
Hi, everybody. A quick thank you to Terri, who hosted a Coffee on the Coast yesterday through our Beaches division at your beautiful studio. And then we also had an all-council social last night at Ruby Beach Brewing. So we are continuing to sprinkle in all chamber functions that help kind of augment the cadence of our council meetings. And that's kind of our plan. There is no shortage of chamber things going on. So if you ever have questions, you can see me or you can see Kathy. Give us a wave, please. Thank you. So next week, our Professional Women's Council is hosting their annual Networking with a Bang social. That's bang as in bang bang shrimp because it's at the Bonefish in Mandarin. Registration is still open for that. And then I wanted to give a special shout out to our new friends, Stu and Kelly, who are the owners of Stumpy's Hatchet House in Springfield. They are doing their ribbon cutting next Thursday at 3:30. I will be there if that's any incentive. But I think it will be fantastic and we look forward to it. So thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for, putting your stamp in Jax, joining the Downtown Council, and we'll see you next Thursday as well.
All right, 50-50 raffle. Okay, we're gonna go 50-50 raffle. $29. Big money, is that what you said? Yes, thank you, Brian. Big money, no whammies. Oh, Lord.
Uh, 9643099.
Woo! Our lovely Liz McCoy, who is doing all the wonderful programming at Janesville and Johnson Park on Bicentennial Saturday. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple raffle prizes. Woohoo! All right, up first, what do we have up first? Ooh, we've got a lovely bottle of wine. Oh, thanks, Terri. Where is she? Oh, there she is. Thank you. Yes, okay, so,
9643076. Yay!
I have drank many bottles of wine with Heather, so I know this will not go to waste. Okay, up next. Ooh, we've got some Frank's. We have some of Frank's nuts. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's see. We're going to go.
We have 9643086. Woo! And 9643087. Do you have both of those numbers?
That's funny. I love.
Are you sure?
Here's the other.
9643083.
You're taking both, man. They were meant for you. Frank's nuts were made for you. Okay. Next time. Okay, we have Jacksonville through the eyes of the Ospreys. Heather, thank you for, yes. I want one of these so bad and I did not buy a raffle ticket, so there's that, but that's okay. It is really cool. You need to check this out. Okay, I'm over that bottle of wine. Okay, this one is going to
Gracie. I'm just kidding. 9643094. 94.
Woo! You win every damn time. I need to hang out with Chris more often. Oh, that's so sweet. He always gives back, so that's wonderful. Okay, is that it? Are we good? Next, so our next meeting, which technically will be June 1st, is canceled because the Urban Land Institute has their Florida Summit hosted in Jacksonville this year. So excited in downtown. That's June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And that really should say June 3rd. Yes, listen, my brain doesn't always work. It's okay. That should say Friday, June 3rd. I did this at like midnight last night. So June 1st, or clearly Wednesday, June 3rd, we will have a meeting only because there's literally 600 people descending on downtown Jacksonville for those 3 days. And we get to showcase our city and how awesome and amazing it is. There's programming going on here at the Jesse and all up and down. So it was just easier. So then on June 17th, that will be our next breakfast meeting. Speaker info to be determined, but we're working on someone really, really amazing. And I'm pretty sure she's going to be able to come. So go ahead and put that on your calendars. Because we don't have a meeting June 3rd, we are going to do a social with the Jacksonville Bar Association at Ruby Beach on Thursday, June 30th, and that's from 5:30 to 7:30. Really would love it if everyone could show up. We love our socials. They're tons of fun. We get to have lots of great conversation. And then, of course, Friday, July 1st is canceled because it's the 4th of July weekend. So with that, do you have any? We're good. We're like 2 minutes or 3 minutes over. Apologies. Thank you guys so much. You have questions? Verlander, Bliss, myself are here for a hot minute. If not, you guys have a great weekend.
Alan, it's great to see you both. Nice to see you.